Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, at the Rush Hour Sports Network. It is yours truly, Jay Smooth, and joining me as always is, of course, B Money. And B Money, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, bro. It's St. Patty's Day week, my friend.
That's right. It is St. Patrick's Day week, so hopefully everyone is enjoying yourselves. I hope you're enjoying yourself as well. We certainly have a lot to get to in the coming. Well, really, in this show, we have a lot to get to. With the top news today being the fact that Texans quarterback Shaun Watson has officially been, uh, I'd say, officially labeled now free man. A Harris County, Texas grand jury did not find enough evidence, this is back on Friday, by the way, to charge Watson with a crime following allegations of sexual misconduct stemming from massage therapy sessions. He also faces 22 civil lawsuits, but Friday's news essentially opens the door for trade discussions for Watson, who remains under NFL investigation and is subject to potential discipline under the league's personal conduct policy. So, essentially, while Watson is still, susceptible to punishment from the league, he is officially a free man once again, and it's going to be quite interesting to see where he lands because teams such as the Panthers have talked to him. The Falcons have reached out to him. The Saints have talked to him. And actually, today, he sat down and had a conversation with the Browns. Now, Watson has a no trade clause, but all these sit downs are essentially to convince him to waive off his no trade clause to go there. So he pretty much controls his own destiny in terms of where he's going to be traded. What is your reaction to the news though? Because it seemed as if we were never really going to hear from him again. He could still be punished. He could be very well suspended for a while. But then again, this is only sexual misconduct and not gambling, so they're probably going to let him get off with it. But what do you
I
think?
hate that you said that.
I mean, hey, I hate that I have to say it, but it is true. I mean, let's be honest. If you
Oh
get,
man.
yeah, like if you hit a woman on camera, you won't be blackballed from the league unless you're not good anymore, like Ray Rice. Uh,
Well, if there's any team that will accept him for doing that, it'd be the Cleveland Browns because they already have Kareem Hunt.
Absolutely, and they listen. They are known for taking in troubled, like literally troubled stars and making them into something. And like you said, when Kareem Hunt kicked that woman in the hotel lobby on camera, the only thing that happened to him because he was still a superstar was he was traded to the Browns and it was kept quiet. Whereas with a Ray Rice, he was toward the end of his career, so when that video came out, it was easy for teams to shun him. But yeah, unfortunately the league doesn't see sexual assault as a big thing. So if I had to guess, even though they really should, but if I had to guess, they're probably going to give him 5 to 6 games. It seems like maybe even less than that, to be honest. Because if they didn't give Kareem Hunt like a whole season for what he did, then I don't see Watson doing any more than five,
Yeah,
six
I think they
games.
suspended Hunt for like 8 games.
Oh, okay, 8 games. All right, so that makes sense. Watson, I could see Watson doing 7, 8 games. That sounds about right. Seems like maybe half the season he'll sit out. But what this verdict does do is it now gives him the green light to be traded. And since we're talking about the Browns, you said it best, man. That seems like the best fit for him. The Saints seem like they're kind of in their own hell right now because they paid a lot of money to Taysom Hill and they're regretting it. Meanwhile, they have Mr. 30 for 30 Club as their starting QB, and they don't know what the hell to really do. The Panthers need one because they lost out on Russell Wilson and some of the others, and they're stuck with Teddy Bridgewater and bum Sam Darnold, so they need somebody. The Falcons are about to ship out Matt Ryan because let's be honest, Matt Ryan is only there because I don't think any other team has shown any urgency to trade for him at this point. So yeah, the Browns is really the only fit. The other teams they have QB needs, but when you look at the squads around them, they're not ready to win anything significant. Whereas if you put Watson on the Browns right now, you could easily say Super Bowl, maybe a favorite to be in the Super Bowl once he plays, of course.
I mean, they'd definitely be a contender, a playoff contender.
Yeah, you certainly got to
I
put.
mean, the other thing is too is that we don't know how Watson's gonna play a year away from football.
Right, that is
He'll
that
probably be okay, but Will he
Yeah,
be at the same level that he was before?
that's gonna be the big question. I wouldn't be surprised if like his first, like his first 2 games, little rusty out the gate, and then like a little rusty out the gate, and then once he kind of plays himself, I'd say like 2 3 games into the season or 2 3 games off of suspension, he'll probably be like in better Shaun Watson form. I had to imagine. So big news here. Gonna be interesting to see where he goes. But with that being said, with that piece of news out the way, we're going to get into our free agency all across the league. And as you all know, we have tried to talk all 32 teams, but with all the crazy moves happening and with free agency now pretty much underway, well, officially Wednesday, tomorrow it is. That's when all the signings will be made official. But yeah, with the tampering period on and now with free agency underway, all that's been pushed to the back burner. But as we look at all these teams, let's go ahead and look at their free agent moves and let's kind of see where their futures are going to be going into this season. Now, uh, I'll go ahead and let you read them off, of course, B Money, because you have the page in front of you like I do. But yeah, you want to go ahead and start with the Bills and then just work our way down?
Yeah, let's start with these Buffalo Bills. Um, they've been making a little bit of noise. I mean, this Bills team we already talked about last year
Mm-hmm.
is a team that should be a Super Bowl contender next year. Um, and I think they're making the moves to do so. So they bring in J.D. McKissick from the Washington football team.
Yes.
Isaiah McKenzie, who was kind of a breakout receiver for them this year.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they settled some things on their offensive line with Roger Saffold and Mitch Morse, bringing them back. And then, of course, you have they signed Tim Settle and Siren Neal, who ended up being a big part of their defense last year when Tre'Davious White got injured and went out last year. So, important pieces that they're keeping. And to me, the biggest name here, J.D. McKissick, I feel like he could add a whole new dynamic to this offense.
Absolutely, he can. I had a chance to see a lot of them in Washington, and you know, it's funny. A lot of fans and media felt like they could have had a lot more from him, but considering the fact that Antonio Brown pretty much took over the running game there, J.D. McKissick was on borrowed time. He's a good signing, like a very good signing for the Bills because they need a running game, and McKissick is going to shine over here because Antonio Brown was taking his carries and taking his shine over in DC. So now he's with a team that, quite frankly, needed a running game, and having McKissick there on a 2 year deal, I think is going to be worth every penny. And quite frankly, it puts the Bills' running game in a good spot now because McKissick is going to be a good back that will take a lot of pressure off of Josh Allen, and Allen won't have to throw the ball, fucking 30, 40 times a game. Even though that's Josh Allen's game, McKissick is going to help take a lot of that away. And of course, with the running game, Allen won't have to be the leading rusher on the team. Now you have a guy in McKissick who can pretty much take the load. So that I agree with you. That's probably the best signing on that they've made on this list right here. The most important one, I should say.
Yeah, and the other thing I add to that too, J.D. McKissick is also a weapon, like catching the football out of the backfield.
Yes.
You think about Josh Allen throwing a little dump off, screen pass or an outlet to him and letting him do things with the ball in his hands afterwards. That's where I think J.D. McKissick is at his strength. And that's a part of this Bills offense that's never been there. It's always been downfield passing or Josh Allen himself running the football. So I think having J.D. McKissick there, gives them a couple new dynamics. Not just as a jolt in the backfield that can run the football on handoffs and tosses, but someone that can also catch those screens and dump offs as well and make them turn them into big plays. So.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And you know what? The Bills now having I'd say some new perspective, like some fresh perspective now, like a fresh running back, I should say, on the offense. I feel like they can now properly build a little bit more on the offense. It's already pristine, but now they have McKissick. It's going to really take things over the top. And of course, that defense is going to get a little bit better as well. You ready to move on to the Dolphins?
Yeah, on to the Miami Dolphins. The first one, kind of an interesting signing. bring in Teddy Bridgewater from Denver.
Now this went
Uh,
under the radar. I did not hear about this one.
yeah, it's an interesting one under the radar, and you know that he's there, you know, because even though it makes you wonder, you know, the whole reason why Brian Flores was fired in Miami was because it was pretty apparent that he did not believe in Tua.
Right.
But with them signing Teddy Bridgewater now with McDaniel as the coach, something's making me believe that maybe McDaniel doesn't believe in Tua either.
I think what McDaniel is doing is he's trying to save his ass, and you are absolutely correct. It's funny because he's talking a big game in media. He's confident and everything, but I think he knows deep down that if this thing blows up in his face, he's going to have to find a way to save his job. And Bridgewater, at this point of his career, is a serviceable backup. He's not somebody you make as a long term solution due to the injuries in his career. I would know from when he was drafted by Minnesota. But uh, yeah, this to me looks like a break the glass just in case of emergency type of move because I think McDaniel knows deep down if Tua does not shine this year, he's going to be in deep shit and he might be one and done as a coach depending on how they do because let's face it, um, if since Flores didn't believe in Tua, McDaniel says, he's telling everybody he believes he can do something with Tua, but I think deep down he kind of knows that Tua only has he's only going to develop so much and only go so far. So I think this is kind of that move where he's trying to save his ass in case Tua completely falls apart.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very interesting signing. But yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, your first quarterback taken in free agency, really.
Really
Um,
interesting.
yeah, I believe so. Um, some other signings from the Dolphins. They re-signed a lot of their own guys. They put the franchise tag on Mike Gesicki.
Oh yeah.
But some other important signings for them, they get Chase Edmonds, who was from the Cardinals. He was kind of like he was kind of helping out, you know, Kyler Murray in being kind of a speed, kind of a lightning to James Conner's Thunder in Arizona,
Right.
um, which is important for Miami because Miami also, like Buffalo, didn't really have much of a run game last year, and
Mm.
that their running back situation's been kind of a carousel. So Chase Edmonds can help that out. Um, they also re-signed Emmanuel Agba on defense to a huge 4-year, $65 million extension. Um, so that will bolster their or keep their pass rush going. And then, of course, the other big signing is Connor Williams, who was previously with Dallas. We know how great Dallas's offensive line has been for a long time. So, you know, Connor Williams is going to be able to play well for them.
Absolutely, man. So, they've re-signed a good amount of their guys, got themselves a couple of good pieces. I think the Dolphins are still going to be that work in progress team, but nonetheless, the signings they do have are gonna be nice for some of the holes they have. But it's going to be interesting to see how first year head coach McDaniel is going to do,
Yep.
especially when you sign a quarterback. Like you already have your quarterback, but one of your big free agent names is a quarterback that's going to be a backup. Maybe they needed a backup just in case, but at the same time, when it's Teddy Bridgewater, that's a good way to say you don't necessarily think your starter's either going to last the season, whether it's due to performance or health or any of that. But yeah, that'll be very interesting. And let's go ahead and move on to Miami, shall we? I'm sorry, to New England, to Foxborough.
The New England Patriots, most of their moves have been re-signing their own people.
Yes.
But if there's anything important that you can take out of what they've done here, they did re-sign James White, who's been good for them in the backfield as a running back. But also, I think the big addition so far
Mm.
is them trading for Mac Wilson from the Browns.
That was
Um,
yeah, I like that one right there. Go ahead.
yeah. So Mac Wilson, I believe he's an outside linebacker, so he gives you a little bit of some pass rushing help. I guess they. I know Mac Wilson. I don't believe he played very much last year. I know he missed several games for the Browns, but he might be able to give them some help, and there's probably some promise there. I believe he's still in his rookie deal. Yeah, he's only been in the league for 3 years.
Ah, interesting, interesting. So yeah, they re-signing most of their guys was good. The Mac Wilson trade is going to help them on the defensive side. Keeping Devin McCourty obviously is going to help them out as well. And I like that they kept Matthew Slater. He's always been a good weapon for them. Nick Folk is okay, but hey, in this league, any average kicker is good because not none of them are going to be Justin Tucker, obviously.
Yeah,
And then let's go.
that's true.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead to New York, shall we? Or really New Jersey. I don't know why they bother calling themselves New York, but the Jets.
Yes, the New Jersey Jets. They haven't earned the right to be New York.
Exactly.
Uh, they sign a lot of their, again, re-signing a lot of their own guys, but they bring in some interesting pieces. They signed C.J. Uzama from the
Interesting.
AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. They signed him
Mm.
to a 3-year deal to play tight end. Um,
Very good signing right there. You know what? With the Jets, they certainly need somebody like him on there. I feel bad for Uzama though because the Jets still have a good amount of ways to go before they're going to be anything great. But still, that's a good signing for them.
I'm honestly surprised that Uzama did decide to sign with the Jets. I mean, you were just on the team that was an AFC champion probably 2 years before it was supposed to happen.
Exactly.
He had the opportunity to be like a major tight end weapon for that team. And he was like, nah, I'm out.
Right.
And it's not even like his contract is that big. 3 years, 24 million. I think that's 8 million a year. You know,
Right.
it's okay.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
Other signings from the Jets, they bring in Laken Tomlinson from the Niners on a huge 3-year deal to protect uh, Zach Wilson. They also bring in DJ Reed from the Seahawks, as the Seahawks have been kind of cleaning house.
Yes.
And then they also get safety Jordan Whitehead from the Bucks. Sign him to a 2-year deal.
Good signing right there. Certainly don't hate that one. And even got Lamarcus Joyner as well as another DB. So yeah, the Jets making some moves, re-signing some people, acquiring some people, including a nice little gem in CJ Uzoma. We'll see how far it's gonna take, oh, how long it's gonna take for them to crash and burn this season because they still have a long way to go before they can get to a respectable place.
I
But
agree.
absolutely, and let's see, that covers first part of the AFC. I believe what the South technically or the East. Uh,
Probably, yeah.
yeah, the East. Let's go ahead to the AFC North, shall we, and start off with the Ravens, who have only made one move, still have not given Lamar that contract yet. But you know they did give one to Marcus Williams from, and I believe you have more information on this guy.
Marcus Williams, safety previously in the New Orleans Saints,
Ah,
signed a 5-year, $70 million deal. I remember we were talking about this earlier today.
yes,
This was I expected the Ravens to sign a safety,
right.
but I think many expected them to sign Tyrann Mathieu.
Yes, I
But they
did.
go for Marcus Williams, and honestly, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Marcus Williams is 25 years old. This is his first year. This is his first contract after the rookie contract.
Wow.
Um, so he's got a lot of time left. He's entering his prime.
Right.
You know, so to me, it's a huge deal. And to get him for 5 years, you know, you're expecting him, you know, at 25 years old, to be playing at a high level for all 5 years.
Exactly.
And you know, in comparison, as mentioned, you know, a lot of people thought it was going to be Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu turns 30 in May, I believe. So you're probably expecting maybe 2 good seasons out of him at this point. But Marcus Williams, you know, he can be a face of this defense for the next half decade for sure.
I agree, man. It certainly feels like he can. Again, like you said, much younger than the Honey Badger, and you're gonna have him longer. The Honey Badger is more of a rental. This is more of a long-term type of deal. I like everything about it. I feel like if he's healthy, he could actually be serviceable to us, to the Ravens, that is. And if anything, it helps us have a safety that we can kind of rely on in a way because again we are when it comes to injuries those DBs certainly have had their history of them, whether it's Tavon Young, whether it's Jimmy Smith, whether it's Deshaun Elliott breaking his arm. You know what I mean? So anytime we can get a serviceable DB, that's always a good thing because we always seem to have ours fall apart for some reason.
Yeah, and I think especially, injuries or not, one of the things this team was missing in large part was
Right.
having a true free safety playmaker on the back end.
Yes.
And Marcus Williams is that. I don't think Chuck Clark is that.
Yeah.
We're losing Deshaun Elliott to free agency, but he wasn't really that yet
Yeah,
either.
yeah, never.
I think,
Yeah, that's the thing. They were that, and I'm glad you said that because Chuck Clark was always like he was very good for what he was told to do and the responsibilities he had. But yeah, never quite developed like a Marlon Humphrey or like some of the other DBs. Never quite hit that level or stride.
yeah, and meanwhile, you bring in Marcus Williams, who's going to be that back end free range, free safety, that true
Yes.
free safety. He's got 15 interceptions in his career. I think what Chuck Clark has two, and they all came in the Rams game. Am I right?
Yeah. So true. Oh man. Says a lot that and you know what when just hearing you say that that actually astounds me. I thought Chuck Clark had more picks than that, but the fact that he only has two,
I mean, I don't
uh,
know how many he actually has. It's probably more like five, but
well,
actually, yes, I'm looking it up right now. Career wise, Chuck Clark has five picks.
wow, like that is incredible. That is shockingly low. I thought he would have had more than that.
He has five.
Wow. So yeah, you know what? Much needed upgrade at the safety spot. And you mentioned losing to Shaun Elliott to free safety. To free agency. It sucks too because I had high hopes for him, man. I really thought he was going to develop, but combination of injuries and never really growing into the position the way we thought he would, kind of was his downfall. But yeah, this right here, good long term plan. I mean, if you're gonna have a plan of safety, you don't want a band aid that's only gonna be there for like 1 or 2 years, like a Tyrann Mathieu, who's gonna expect a ring right when he walks in the door. That I mean, hey, could happen with this team, but realistically, we need a long term solution, and I like this one right here. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And let's go ahead and move on to the AFC.
Well,
Uh,
before we do,
oh,
you want to break the news that happened right when this show started about another Ravens signing?
that is correct. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Zariback on Twitter has put out that the Ravens have agreed to terms with veteran offensive tackle Morgan Moses. According to league sources, it will be a 3-year, $15 million deal. So the Ravens get themselves a quality offensive tackle in Morgan Moses for the next 3 years. What do you think about that one, bro? I just broke the news to you earlier before we got on here, and I never got your thoughts, so I certainly am wondering what you think about this signing.
I think it's a fantastic deal. It's exactly what the Ravens need. Um, one of the biggest questions about the Ravens going into this, or going into this season, has been like wanting to upgrade and fix the offensive line, and particularly we're losing our center Bradley Bozeman. He's still out there on free agency, so
Right.
who knows what the Ravens are going to do at center. But tackle has been a spot of question ever since they traded away Orlando Brown last year. They traded away Orlando Brown to the Chiefs, and they had a hole at right tackle. They tried to fill it by signing Alejandro Villanueva last year, and he didn't play particularly well, and
Right.
then he decided to retire at the end of the year. And then you got Ronnie Stanley, who I think for the second year in a row, or actually hasn't played a full season yet, and got injured week one. And Morgan Moses, here comes a guy that can right away proven, that can be, play right tackle for us if Ronnie Stanley is actually hurt. Maybe can move over and play some left tackle. And let's not also forget the Ravens will be getting back Jawan James, who was a quality starter for Denver, but got injured right before uh, free agency started last year. So the Broncos actually ended up just dropping him, and the Ravens picked him up on a 2-year deal in the mindset of he would do his injury recovery with the Ravens and be available for this season. And as of I remember, I think, hearing news in December that he was back on the practice field. So you should expect Jawan James back. But you also got Morgan Moses now, too.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? Morgan Moses is a fantastic addition, as you said. So I like this. And if you're gonna get somebody to protect Lamar Jackson into the next season, Morgan Moses is exactly the type of lineman, or actually the type of tackle that you want on that front line. So I love this move as well. The Ravens have made two great free agent signings so far, and I gotta say, man, I'm still curious as to what they're gonna do in the draft. I put together my mock, and by the way, folks, the draft preview is gonna be starting next week. I was gonna do it this weekend, but a lot of news and info has come out about these players, and I've had to change my draft board around a bit, but things are going to be interesting. I think the Ravens might go tackle, but after this move right here, not so sure now. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of digging. But you ready to go to? Absolutely, man. I thought they were going to go Tyler Linenbaum from Iowa, who is a serviceable. Actually, he's a center, so they could very well get one. But I think this move might make their plans change a bit, so I have some more research to do. But in the meantime, are you ready to take a trip to Cincinnati?
Yeah, Cincinnati ain't too far from me in real time, so let's do it.
That's true, man. By the way, shout out to the home state you are in real time, because they are playing on my TV right now against my Wyoming in March Madness. Shout out to them boys and to them Hoosier boys over there. Anyways,
The Hoosiers.
the Hoosiers. Absolutely, brother. But definitely, let me know what's going on in Ohio. Ohio is not too far away from you. So, what is Cincinnati doing now that they are looking forward to their campaign, I'd say, post AFC Championship run?
Right next door in Cincinnati, they're doing the two things. The two big signings that they have is the one thing that the Bengals sorely needed for the last 2 seasons. They
Really?
signed 2, not one, but 2 offensive linemen, high quality offensive linemen, mind
Wow.
you, 2 long-term contracts. They first get guard Alex Kappa, who was previously from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, blocking for Tom Brady the last couple of years. They signed him to 4 years, $35 million.
That is a deal that is well worth every penny right there. Like you said, this man blocked for Tom Brady, and hey, he kept Tom Brady upright, and he helped Tom Brady get pretty far this past season. So, you can bet your ass when he gets in there and he's blocking for Burrow. Oh, Burrow is gonna have to buy this guy a whole new SUV or something because of all the blocking he's gonna do for him.
And then they also signed another person who has blocked for Tom Brady, and that's New England Patriot Ted Karras. He was around when Brady was still with the Patriots. But yeah, then he was blocking for Mac Jones this year. So
Very interesting, man.
This one, 3 years, $18 million.
Ooh, very interesting. And you know what? Hey, very smart of them to invest in high quality protection for Burrow, because he was getting his ass whooped this year, considering how mediocre the line was. So this was a much needed move, and now that they are investing in and protecting Burrow, I think that's going to help their chances with the offense this season. So hey, I like those 2 signings right there.
Yeah, those are much needed, crucial signings for the Bengals. And who knows, but these types of moves, they already got Jesse Bates back on the franchise tag. You know, they're primed to potentially run it back and be a contender.
Absolutely, man. And getting BJ Hill as well on a 3-year deal is going to be very good for their defense. So I got to say, the Bengals are committing some high-level moves. And you want to talk about some high-level moves, bro, and you want to talk about Ohio? I mean, hey, Cleveland isn't playing around this year, are they?
No, sir.
No, they're not. And hey, we talked about it at the top of the show. Shaun Watson having a conversation with the Browns today, and you mentioned it. It would be the perfect fit for him, and since we talked about it, I believe it would. And after seeing what they have done, I think you might be right, because Tell them about the move, the critical move the Browns made to patch up the Odell Beckham Jr. hole that Baker Midfield caused.
Yes. They replace Odell Beckham. And, oh, by the way, something else. The Browns, after this move, ended up releasing Jarvis Landry.
Ooh, now
so they got rid of Odell Beckham and his best friend, too.
that is
Just
crazy.
got all of that out of there.
Got rid of Landry, and you know what? I felt like that was going to happen. When I saw guys like Donovan People-Jones get a lot more time, I'm like, oh, Landry may not be long for this. But that is a very interesting move right there. Very big move. And let everybody know how they tried to patch it up.
And they patch it up by trading for the former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper. They get him for a 5th and a 6th round pick.
Which is like they literally traded him for a bag of balls. Like that's next to nothing right there. That is a steal. They get an amazing receiver, a guy who arguably is probably going to be their solid number one now, because when Odell left, they didn't have that. Now they got it. What I think will be interesting, though, will the Browns go receiver in the draft? I think they might. I think they might. They certainly need another like little weapon out there. They have Kareem Hunt. They have Donovan People-Jones. They franchise tagged Njoku, which I'm sure you were about to mention. But even so, since I already brought it up, do you think Njoku is going to be serviceable for them, or do you think they should look at a tight end maybe in the draft?
I mean, I would. I mean, I think they also put Austin Hooper on the roster. Let me check this.
I think so, but I think it is.
Sure that's right.
Yeah, but I do think it is rather interesting that that Njoku did get that tag. I don't think Njoku was going to be like there's like a serviceable tight end for them in the future. You know, he's going to be an option, but I don't think he's necessarily going to be that guy, because we expected a lot out of him. We thought he would develop right along with the rest of the crew, but it did not happen. So I won't be surprised if they look in the draft for one, especially considering all of the options at receiver and tight end that the Browns have. They could certainly find some formidable weapons if they feel like Njoku is not the guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they go after something like that. But I mean, I think the biggest question mark to the Browns' success next season is, will Baker Mayfield be the quarterback?
Yeah, that's true. Will he be the guy? And this is what's going to be interesting. Let's say hypothetically that Shaun Watson says, "Okay, I'll waive my no trade clause for the Browns." The Browns trade, like they end up with a trade. We could either see a quarterback swap, or B, Deshaun Watson brought in. Baker Mayfield has 8 games to audition for, teams around the league, and then by week 8, when Deshaun's suspension is up, let's say he gets the 8 games, right? Let's say he gets the Kareem Hunt suspension. By the time he's ready to go, they may either ship Baker out, or they're gonna put his ass on the bench and then ship him out at the end of the season. But either way, if they get Deshaun Watson, he will not be there anymore. If they don't, this is make or break for Baker, because if he has another unsuccessful season, he's gonna be out of there. So,
Yeah.
like you said, this is now on Baker. You have a weapon like Amari Cooper now to add on to the other weapons that they have. This is now or never for Cleveland, man. Now or never.
Yeah, and I believe this is the last year of Baker's contract anyway, so
That's
no matter
true.
what, this is it.
That's true. This is make or break for Baker, man. At this point, this is both a prove it and a also an audition for other teams as well, in case he flattens out.
Yep.
And let's see. So yeah, let's see. They also signed Chase Winovich and of course Tavin Bryan. So yeah, they've. Oh yeah, that of course that was acquired in a trade with the New England Patriots. So they have a defensive end. That was who they got in exchange for Mac Wilson, of course. And,
Yes.
and then of course Bryan, they got on a 1-year deal. So the Browns making some moves there. The Amari Cooper move is going to be the most important one, the one to watch out for. The Browns are not messing around. Let's just hope Baker Mayfield can stop playing games. But you want to talk about some quarterbacks, my guy? Let's go to Pittsburgh, shall we?
Let's go to Pittsburgh.
Oh, Let's go to Pittsburgh, man. So yeah, hey, first, of course, Dwayne Haskins gets signed. He has the original round restricted free agent tender worth $2.54 million. But let everybody know about the quarterback that they signed.
Before I get there, I would
Uh
just also like to say, as far as the good moves that Pittsburgh did, that they re-signed Chuguma Okorafor at tackle,
huh.
3 years, $29 million. Cool. They also get James Daniels, who was previously from the Bears, 3 years, $26.5 million.
Right.
Cool. They re-signed some of their old guys. Cool.
Right.
So the question has been, the Steelers, they got the team. They got some of the weapons like Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson.
Najee
They
Harris.
got a pretty good defense. T.J. Watt, obviously Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
The question is, Big Ben's gone. Are they going to have a quarterback to compete, especially in an AFC North division that features Joe Burrow and the defending AFC champion Bengals?
Right.
Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, who were which with better health would have probably been a playoff team.
Right.
The Cleveland Browns, who are okay,
And who might and who, by the way, might have Deshaun Watson.
who might end up having Deshaun Watson. So how do the Steelers answer this? The quarterback that they signed is Mitchell Trubisky.
2 years for $14 million. It's worth up to $27 with incentives. But all I gotta say is this. Let's see. They had Mason Rudolph, a bum. They have Dwayne Haskins, an underachiever, a guy who actually could be great, but he just decides not to work hard and be a lazy motherfucker. And instead, maybe go after Matt Ryan, maybe go after another quarterback. No. Maybe try to trade for Kirk Cousins or try to pursue an Aaron Rodgers. No. No. Instead, they signed.
Deshaun Watson's sweepstakes if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could have easily been in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, and hell, Deshaun probably would have chose them.
Deshaun Watson and Big Ben are the same person.
They share a lot in common, that is for sure. They share a lot in common, and if there's a team that knows how to resurrect a quarterback from rape allegations, it's the Steelers. So, I mean, it's true. If there's a team that knows how to do it, the Steelers have done it. And, hey, it would have been a match made in heaven. But no, they settle on a guy that got Matt Nagy fired. Well, actually, no, he didn't get Matt Nagy fired. Matt Nagy got himself fired. But Trubisky has had other coaches fired. He has caused a locker room to blow up. Khalil Mack literally had to beg to get that bum out of there. Like, he was begging for people to get him out of there when he was there. Trubisky was hidden out with the Buffalo Bills for the past year because he was so terrible in Chicago. Chicago had to draft a new quarterback and kick him to the curb. So now that Josh Allen is sick of looking at him, he has now found another way to be a starter in the league. But yet you have quarterbacks that are way better that could have been in the spot. I would say Tyler Huntley, but the Ravens are not doing business with the Steelers. That will never happen today, tomorrow, any other day. There are other quarterbacks they could have looked at. They could have went to the draft. They could have went to Malik Willis and tried to develop their next Big Ben. Because remember, the Steelers drafted Big Ben. The Steelers are not the type of team to get a free agent Band-Aid quarterback and try to shuffle them along as the future. They like to develop within their own. And this was not a develop within your own type of move because Mitchell Trubisky is trash. You can't develop him into anything. There's only so far the Steelers will go. And I hate to say this, because I feel bad for Najee Harris and for Minkah Fitzpatrick and Chase Claypool and all the weapons they got. I see the Steelers being in fourth place in the division this year.
Oh yeah.
I feel really bad for them, especially for T.J. Watt too, because Trubisky is also a turnover machine, and when he starts to turn the ball over, he becomes scared. He doesn't take those chances. Mike Tomlin's gonna be. I'm telling you, Tomlin is gonna be so frustrated with this guy. He's gonna be frustrated with him, and by mid-season, you're gonna see it. This is easily the Band-Aid that you don't want to have. So yeah, the Steelers may have just screwed themselves with that signing right there. And to be honest with you, I actually thought that I thought Trubisky was going to end up in DC, bro. I thought he was going to be signed by Washington, and then Washington was going to draft a quarterback, and then they were going to have two quarterbacks compete with Heineke and do it like that. Instead, the Commanders did something else foolish, which we're going to talk about later. And as a result of their foolishness, the Steelers said, well, this is pretty much all we got left. So they signed Trubisky, and now they've screwed themselves for the season.
Yeah, man.
They are down bad, bro. They are down
Their only
bad.
option is that their defense carries them.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do in a league like this where the rules are skewed to help offenses. Oh, they're done, man. They're cooked. Defenses winning championships is a rare accomplishment in the NFL these days, considering how the rules are. And let's go ahead to the AFC South real quick, to the Texans. Now, we know what the Texans are and what they're going to be. But we could go ahead and run through what they've done, right? I mean, just sort of glance through it because it's nothing. It's nothing noteworthy. Yeah, it's not noteworthy
There's
here.
not really much to report. Their biggest ones they bring in. They sign A.J. Cann, offensive lineman from Jacksonville. They bring in M.J. Stewart, who is a corner from Cleveland.
Oh,
And then Obo Aronquo, who was a linebacker for your defending champion Rams.
so he goes from the defending champion Rams to hell. That's terrible.
Yeah, now granted, of course, on the defending champion Rams, he was basically a reserve.
Ah,
So there's that. So
Ah.
the Texans didn't really do much.
well, at least he can say he's a Super Bowl champ without having to do anything.
Yeah. Anyway, we might as well move on now.
Yeah, let's go ahead to a more important team, the Colts. They've only made 4 moves though, but I gotta say, a little surprising. They have a lot of cap room and they've done nothing with it. The only noteworthy thing they've done that's not on this list, it's on another team's list. They shipped out Carson Wentz. They gave up on that man after 1 season, and you know what? It's the Jacksonville Jaguar game that did him in. Those final 2 games they lost, including the Jaguar game, is what did him in, and I'm actually shocked by it. I didn't think they would give up on Wentz after 1 year. Did you think they would?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the ending was bad. They lost to a Jaguars team that didn't have a head coach and whose quarterback has pretty much been, I would say, kind of, well, his mind was a little out of whack after what happened this season, and they still managed to beat him. I didn't think the Colts would sack Wentz, but it really says a lot about Wentz that Frank Reich gave up on him after 1 season.
Yeah.
1 season.
Yeah. So the important things for the Colts here of what they've done so far, you mentioned about Carson Wentz, and we're just waiting to see, if a Jimmy Garoppolo ends up being in their future.
I think that's going to be the guy actually. But go ahead.
In the meantime, re-signing Mo Cox ends up becoming like the most important thing here because I think we mentioned on last week's show, Jack Doyle retired, their other tight end.
Yes, he did.
So the fact they were able to bring back one of them, I think is going to be really good for them.
Absolutely, super.
And then also the signing of cornerback Brandon Faxon is also going to be really good for them as well. Faxon comes from the Raiders defense. Had a pretty decent season over there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, the Colts able to make a few signings, but yeah, big news there. Gave up on Carson Wentz after 1 season. Speaking of teams that are trying to build from the ground up, let's go to the Jaguars, shall we? Because they've made some pricey moves in the past couple days.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'm so confident in them, to be quite frank.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, so already we talked about putting the franchise tag on Cam Robinson, which is still a head scratcher.
Yes.
I'd probably say like my favorite move from them is them signing Brandon Scherf.
Yes.
Their offensive guard to almost $50 million, $49.5 million from Washington.
Right.
He'll be good for them. But for me, the big head scratching are the 2 receivers that they signed.
Yeah.
They signed Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, both to long-term deals. Zay Jones comes from the Raiders, Christian Kirk comes from the Cardinals, neither of whom were the number one option on their previous team. As a matter of fact, I don't believe neither of them were the number two option on their previous team.
Yeah, like
And
they
yet,
gave.
here they are getting the big money. I believe, I know Christian Kirk, he was, I believe, number three behind Hopkins and A.J. Green, and then Zay Jones, I believe, was also essentially number three behind Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, that was confusing that they gave Kirk pretty much $37 million guaranteed. Obviously, he can make up to 84, but they gave that man $37 million guaranteed, and they gave Jones 24 million. And yeah, not the number one choice on either squad that they came from, and now they're gonna be on a team in which they're going to be expected to play that next role. Now, either these guys wanted this type of role to be the man, to be number one, or they're just taking the money and happy to be in that spot. But it feels like to me, both of those moves, like you said, head scratching moves, don't understand the reason for that at all. Good weapon. I mean, yeah, hey, good weapons for, um, for what's his name, the quarterback. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, I don't get giving. I don't understand giving Kirk $37 million. I don't understand that.
I think Zay Jones and Christian Kirk are talented receivers.
Yes, they're good, but not worth the money.
Particularly
Yeah.
Kirk is worth 72 million, 37 guaranteed.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. Not worth the money at all, man. I don't understand that one bit.
But yeah, other moves, they signed Foley Fatakazi, who comes from the New York Jets, and their defense, um, he was all right up there. Played some decent stuff up there. I think mainly a run stopper.
Right.
And then also they signed inside linebacker Foya Olakun from the Atlanta Falcons, who I believe, if my memory is correct, led the team in tackles this year, or was one of their high points in tackles this year.
Yes, that is correct. You certainly are right about that one. So, yeah, they've made a good amount of moves there, but yeah, two head scratching moves with their wide receivers. Everything else is decent. We're gonna have to see what the Jaguars do in the draft and beyond. But yeah, so far, bit confusing as to what their future is gonna look like.
Oh, I will say before we move on from the Jaguars, the signing of Olakun, again, I believe he was the Falcons' leading tackler, also led to the Jaguars releasing Miles Jack. He's now available in free agency.
Absolutely. So yeah, Miles Jack, of course, not the guy he was in Jacksonville, but I'm sure he's going to be serviceable wherever he goes. So let's go to Tennessee real quick, and not too much to report here other than them signing Morgan Cox. The other three are, they're good. They're good signings, but nothing over the top.
Yeah, we already talked about Harold Landry last week, so
Exactly. Going to the AFC West. This is easily the division with the most action, and the division that's probably going to be the most exciting to watch this year. Now, the move that set the ripple effect off was this one right here. The Broncos acquired Russell Wilson in a trade with Seattle, in a trade with the Seattle Seahawks, along with a 4th-round pick for 2 first-round picks, 2 second-rounders, a 5th-rounder. They also pick up quarterback the Seahawks, that is, pick up quarterback Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, and defensive tackle Shelby Harris. Yeah, quite a haul there for Russell Wilson, but nonetheless, it is worth it because the Broncos have the same problem every year. They've had it since the Peyton Manning years. Really since the John Elway years when he retired. The Broncos never really found that long-term solution at quarterback, and right now they have one. This is not like Peyton Manning, because Peyton was toward the end when he went to the Broncos. Russell Wilson still has many years left in this league, so as far as being that long-term franchise option, the Broncos now have that in Russell Wilson, and I think it was a very interesting trade. And also, this trade signals that the Seahawks are officially in rebuild mode. Now, what's funny is that in the media they keep saying, "Oh no, we're not rebuilding. We're a few pieces away. We'll be fine." But we all know in reality in reality we know they're rebuilding. They just don't want to say it out loud because they're probably too prideful. But yeah, this move critical right here because the Broncos have always needed the quarterback. They've always needed the quarterback help, and if anything, this is going to bump them up significantly in terms of where they could potentially land, like in playoffs and seeding and whatnot. What do you think of the Broncos now that they have Russell Wilson?
I mean, I think it definitely turns them into a contender. I mean, you think about all the quarterback woes they've had recently and last year going between Bridgewater and Locke. And let's not forget, this Broncos team was one game out of the playoffs last year.
Right, that's true.
with the quarterback situation that they have. You bring in Russell Wilson, and I'm thinking they can at least probably win, at least maybe 3 more and get themselves into the playoffs this year.
I
So
I think so too, man. And you know what? The fact that the fact that Russell Wilson went to the Broncos, that now means the AFC West, they're now stacked with quarterbacks. You have Derek Carr, you have Justin Herbert, you have Patrick Mahomes, and now you have Russell Wilson. You now have 4 solid teams in the AFC West that are going to battle it out all season long. The division, not only did the Broncos get better, I believe the AFC West division has now taken that final step to being the division to watch for the year, for the season.
oh, for sure.
Absolutely, and last year, bro, as you know, they were very close to that with all we've seen, and now the Broncos make this move. Oh yeah, AFC West is now the division. It is now the division to watch. So that's going to be interesting. And then another move they made today. Well, of course they have Calvin Anderson. They resigned. They get Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory, and this is what was interesting. He agreed to rejoin the team that has given this man, I'd say, like more chances than Josh Gordon. I think. They like the Dallas Cowboys, and instead flips on him last minute, goes to the Broncos. The man is talented whenever he's not on a drug suspension, and quite frankly, the fact that he chose to go to a new team instead of staying with the team that has given him multiple chances and even given him a chance to resurrect his career says a lot. But Randy Gregory, now on that defensive side for the Broncos, that defense has now gotten a little bit better. What do you think?
I mean, I think so.
I
I
think
think they definitely get better. I mean, essentially, he's going to be the replacement for Von Miller.
yes.
But what's wild to me is, given his history, how he was able to spin a 5-year deal.
That's what I mean. He spun a 5-year deal with everything he's been through.
Right?
Multiple drug suspensions, multiple league suspensions. He sat out, I think, if not the same amount, maybe more games than Josh Gordon, who's probably the only guy I think who was neck and neck with him for having the most chances to succeed in the league despite having issues.
He
But
spends 5 years and 28 mil guaranteed.
you know what this says? It says that the NFL doesn't look at substance abuse issues the way they should. It seems like everything else is serious, but if you got a drug problem or if you're a drunk, it's okay. As long as you can play, we'll give you a 5-year deal. Very,
But it's just wild to me because 5 years is definitely like long term.
yes,
And
and
by giving him this contract, Denver's saying, "Oh yeah, we expect for you to not do anything wrong for the next 5 years."
right, and by the way, you're sending a man like Randy Gregory to Denver. I mean, come on, Denver. They have THC in the water supply in Denver. Come
Oh
on.
my god.
You know what I mean? Like you can't send him there. That's why I think it was very interesting that not only did, like you said, he was able to spin a 5-year deal, he was able to spin a 5-year deal to Denver, of all places.
You bring up a good point.
Yeah, so it's like whoever his agent is, we need him to be our lawyer I mean, come on. That's amazing negotiation skills.
Anyway, the last important Broncos move is them signing DJ Jones to a 3-year deal. He basically replaces Shelby Harris, who they traded away for Russell Wilson.
Not a bad replacement right there, but yay, I gotta say, man, the Denver Broncos, I think the Denver Broncos may have won the offseason with this. I think they're one of the offseason winners. Well, one of them, I should say. There are other teams that did some good stuff too, but they're definitely one of the offseason winners for this, no doubt. And they're going to be one of my teams to watch now. Like, not only do I want to watch the AFC West division, I now want to watch the Broncos specifically because I want to see how this is going to work out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And staying within that division, The Kansas City Chiefs, let's see, they put the tag on good old Orlando Brown. Do you think that was a good move? Because it's not like he's done. It's not like he's a world beater over there compared to what he's done in Baltimore.
He's not, but I think it's a good move. I think he'll be fine. I remember us talking about it last week.
That's true.
I think he's worth it for now.
Absolutely. Let's see. They also get Frank Clark in a deal of 2 years and $29 million, and they get safety Justin Reed, 3 years and $31.5 million. That is at least $20 million guaranteed. Anything we need to talk about with the Chiefs, or I think it's pretty much the same. They're pretty much in the same mode as every year they've been in the past few years, huh?
Yeah, Frank Clark is a re-signing, so there's nothing new there. And then Justin Reed, he comes from the Houston Texans. He basically replaces Tyrann Mathieu. So the Chiefs are the same.
Good stuff, good stuff. And now we go to Vegas real quick. Quick trip to Vegas, where the Raiders have signed Max Crosby to a 4-year deal worth $98.98 million with a $95 million in new money, blah, blah, blah. $53 million guaranteed. They certainly needed a defensive end there for the Raiders, but Raiders pretty much in the same spot. They didn't move Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels seems to like Derek Carr, and he seems to want to keep everybody together. So not too many moves for the Raiders. A little silent. A little silent in the offseason. I was about to say. Yeah, I was about to say they haven't done anything significant. So yeah, very silent. But a team who has not been silent, and I will let you talk about this. The Los Angeles Chargers. I will let you go through their moves because they have made some very significant moves this offseason. They have not been quiet at all.
The Chargers, I think, are going all in.
I think so too, man. I think they're going all the way in.
They're about to go all in. We talked about it last week about them re-signing Mike Williams to a 3-year, $60 million deal. And I mentioned last week how I couldn't believe that they were able to spend that money for him. But they did. But they didn't stop there.
Oh, no, they did. They did not stop there. They were only just beginning there.
And my favorite part about them not stopping there is that all the major moves they've made since then have been on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes, sir.
And specifically, you can tell, at least with a couple of these moves, they've been geared towards the one weakness that they had last year, and that was the run defense.
Yes, sir, 100%.
So they go and sign them 2 big boys up front. Austin Johnson, who comes from the New York Giants, who had 66 total tackles, last year.
Right.
And then you also go and get Sebastian Joseph from the defending champion Rams to go stop the run up front. They signed them both to contracts.
I love it, man. Now look, it's going to be very difficult to have an established running game now that you got those 2 big boys up front pretty much clogging up the holes,
Yeah, and that's the thing is what gets me is they didn't stop at 1, they signed 2 dudes, so that they ain't playing around. And then they also don't flinch either, Jay, because they go and sign 2 more people, bro.
Oh, man.
And I couldn't believe, they signed 1 more than they trade for the other, and I can't believe it, bro.
Right.
I'll start with the signing. They signed J.C. Jackson, who is arguably the best corner on the market.
Yes.
He made 5-year, $82.5 million, $40 million guaranteed. This man has had a gajillion interceptions the past however many years. My God, what a signing, bro. To help with their secondary, they pair him with Derwin James in the back, bro.
Oh, that you saying that J.C. Jackson and Derwin James, that is insanity. I don't know, who's gonna deal with that? Watching them line up on a Jerry Jeudy, or watching them shut down the Chiefs receivers, or even watching them match up with the Rams if they play the Rams this season. It's gonna be insane, man. Those are 2 of the most dangerous corners in the league.
I just want to read this off about J.C. Jackson because it still dumbfounds me how this is a thing. But J.C., remember we were talking about interceptions earlier?
Yeah.
We were talking about how our boy Chuck Clark only has, I think, 5 career interceptions.
Yes.
In like 5 seasons or however much.
Yes.
And then the Ravens went and got Marcus Williams, and I think he had 15 in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So J.C. Jackson, he's played 4 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
My man's got 25 interceptions.
Jeez.
25.
25 interceptions. That is insanity.
And you ready for this one?
What's up?
17 of those 25 have came in the last 2 seasons.
Jeez. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that is a ball-hawking defensive back, a ball-hawk corner. Like, that is what you want on the back end right there. That's Pro Bowl and I'd say easily first team numbers right there.
He's played every in 3 in the last 3 seasons.
Now that's impressive,
and
right there.
Just comparing to Chuck Clark. In those 3 seasons that he's played every single game, the only season that he didn't was his rookie year, right?
Right.
So obviously he didn't start. You get me. But in the 3 seasons that he's been a starting corner in the NFL, his career low is the same number of interceptions that Chuck Clark has in his entire fucking career.
I mean,
in 1 season.
Exactly. So we're literally talking about the best corner that money can buy in the market.
Oh my god.
Like the best DB, like that back end, and of course, tell us about who they traded for. That's.
You're right. They didn't stop there.
Right.
Not only did they bolster their run defense with not 1 but 2 big bodies to put in the center. Not only did they get, as you mentioned so correctly,
right,
one of the best corners that money can buy.
Right.
But they also spin a trade to get Khalil Mack from the Chicago Bears. They saved that man from the depths of Lake Michigan, bruh. And they bring him back out west where he belongs in California to play for the Chargers. They send to the Bears a 2nd-round pick and a 6th-round pick for next year. God.
Man,
they pair Khalil Mack with Joey Bosa, bro. Oh my god.
Hey, they saved that man from purgatory. He wasn't in NFC hell because NFC hell is Detroit, but he was in purgatory, which was Chicago for many years, and it seemed as if they were never going to build around him the way they should have, and I'm really happy that this happened because now you put Khalil Mack right in the center of already a defense that is high level, whether you have Bosa up front, whether you have James and J.C. Jackson in the backfield. You know, have a guy like Khalil Mack who's going to who's going to be a game disruptor. And when you're a game disruptor, at that point in time, when you already have the dangerous monsters on defense that they already have, but you throw a game disruptor like Khalil Mack in there, it's going to change the whole game for the Chargers. Not only are they going to have the lockdown defense to keep teams out of the end zone, they now are going to set up Justin Herbert with even better opportunities to excel on offense. The fact they kept Mike Williams was, I'd say, very important for them. But yeah, this is going to give new life to the Chargers because now, you know, they can now lean on that defense a little bit. You know, Herbert is going to have a great game, but you need a defense that is at least going to keep you in the game or at least win games for you, and now they have that. This has easily been the best offseason that the Chargers have had in many years, and all of a sudden, bro, like you said, I think we're now looking at a team that not only is going all in, I think we can say one of the favorites to come out of the AFC and win it all. I mean, obviously, we've said that about a couple of other teams. I've said that about a couple of other teams, but if I'm going to be honest with you, this is the strong favorite right now.
I mean, the Chargers have the pieces.
They have it.
Now it's just Brandon Staley making good decisions and not settling for analytics all the time and going for fourth down on his own 20-yard line.
This is a very good point. Very good point. Like you said, now there's no excuses. They have all the pieces in place that they need, but it is on them, like you said, to make it all come together. They certainly have what it takes to do it, though. But yeah, man, I think now with this squad, we're gonna see a little something different out there. But I'm certainly excited to see what they have in store. Are you ready to cruise to the NFC, or are we gonna do that in the next episode?
I think we're going to save the NFC for the next episode.
I think so too. That what we did today was very good. By the way, as a little preview for the next episode, we have some breaking news, my guy. We have some breaking news.
What do you got?
So, the Giants and their quarterback situation. They have obviously opted to keep Daniel Jones, but they have just signed somebody to back him up, and dare I say, much deserved, because he's quite frankly being killed. Well, really, he wasn't gonna have a chance where he was. The Giants just signed Tyrod Taylor to compete in camp with Daniel Jones and potentially be the backup. Very interesting, and they signed him to 2 years, $11 million. This news is actually just being handed down right before we get off air. Yeah, interesting stuff, and I say that because I thought for sure the Giants were going to be in all in on Daniel on Danny Dimes there, but if you sign Tyrod Taylor, I think Tyrod might actually have a better camp than he will. If I'm going to be honest.
I mean, I hope he does. I mean, I'm always cheering for Tyrod, so.
I am too. I'm hoping he has a better one, and now that the Giants have a new head coach, maybe that head coach will pull his head out of his ass and probably put together a good offense for them because oh, by the way, you want to talk about people that we feel bad for. It sucks that the running back on what is the name of the running back that's on the Giants that I'm thinking of right now?
Saquon Barkley.
Yes, thank you. It is a shame that he's stuck there because I actually thought we were going to see a move for him this offseason, but nothing came about.
Yeah, there's been a lot of rumblings of still a possibility of him getting traded.
Yes, so that's going to be interesting to see. But folks, when we get back to the free agency tracker next week, we are going to start with the NFC East and the Cowboys, and we're just going to work our way all the way through. The Giants have made a quarterback move. The Eagles have some moves. The Dallas Cowboys have made some moves, including shipping out probably their best receiver on the team. I mean, well, CeeDee Lamb's pretty good. But they just...
we already talked about it.
Yeah, and we already got that. Yeah, that's kind of their big news. And the only other big news to talk about in terms of the NFC East is the Commanders finding their QB1. So we're going to be talking about that next week. And also next week, folks, will be the beginning of the Smooth Draft Tracker. That is where I start to give you guys all of the top selections in this year's draft. Because B-Money, I don't know if you noticed this, but you know how every year there's always like a certain hype for the draft, and you always hear about who the number one pick's gonna be. Yeah, you don't hear about any of that this year. You know what I mean? There's no real when you hear about the draft, there's not that number one overall player that's being pushed in the media or hyped in the media. There's none of that this year. This draft is very low key, so I'm going to be educating the people on the names they should be looking out for when the draft goes down. Not too far away from now. But is there anything you would like to close with before we get out of here for the week?
No, I mean, I believe the official start. We're recording this on Tuesday, March 15th. I believe tomorrow is the official start of the new league year.
Yes, sir.
So, happy football season.
Hell yeah, happy football season. Happy official, this is going to be 2022 NFL season. So happy 2022 NFL season. Everybody's going to be signed starting tomorrow. We're probably going to see, like you said, a lot more moves happening because remember, we still got Shaun Watson floating out of there. I imagine his choice will be made up by the time we get on next week. We could very well see a good amount of other people move. There's even rumors of Von Miller being moved to Dallas. There's rumors of Baker Mayfield maybe not even being on the Browns because the Deshaun situation. And of course, we still have players like Saquon Barkley who's out there who is eligible for a new home. So, folks, by the time we get on next week, you never know what'll happen. Make sure you keep your eyes and ears to what happens here at the Rush Hour Sports Network. Of course, B Money and myself gonna give you guys all the lowdown on everything. So, on behalf of my co-host B Money, this is your boy Jay Smooth, and I want to thank you all for listening in tonight. We will see you all next week. We will have you all. We will have a lot more news for you next week, and of course, next week will be the beginning of my draft tracker special, where I educate you guys on all the top picks in this year's draft. So, folks, have yourselves a great week. Enjoy yourselves. And by the way, for all you football fanatics, I think the USFL starts in like 2-3 months. So if you can't wait for football, you're gonna have that coming up. But anyways, we will talk to you all soon. And by the way, shout out to Indiana for being in March Madness and putting on a show on my television screen right now. Shout out to you all. Anyways, we will see you all next week. Be Money. I will see you next week, sir. Have yourself a good one, my guy.
You as well, too.
No doubt, my brother. Folks, we are officially out. See you next week.